Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Laredo Independence School District Board of Trustees. This is a notice of public hearing. Laredo ISD Public Facility Corporation and Board of Directors. Today is Monday, August the 10th. It is now 5:24.
Should we hold off on roll call until we do it?
You have protocol?
There it is, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we need to have roll
I'll
call.
do
I
roll call.
moved.
Yeah.
Roll call, please, Mr. Garza.
Mr. Jesus Martinez.
Present.
Mr. Jose Valdez is absent. Mr. Ricardo Vázquez is present. Mr. Hector Noyola. Here. Dr. Cecilia May Moreno. Present. Mr. Hector Garcia.
Present.
Jose R. Perez is absent.
Okay, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance at this time. Will you all please stand?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For all.
This public hearing or public meeting is to discuss the 2015-2016 budget and proposed tax rate and to allow public participation. Dr. Nelson?
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to our Chief Financial Officer, who will take us through a few highlights of our budget and proposed tax rate and allow for public participation. Ms. Ayala?
Let me interrupt you there. Mr. Jose Valdez is present. Go
Good
ahead,
evening. Good evening, Trustee Valdez. May we proceed?
Go ahead. Yes,
Thank you,
please.
Mr. President. Ms. Ayala?
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. Good evening, Mr. Martinez, Board of Trustees, colleagues, and members of the public. We'll begin with the public meeting to discuss the 2015-16 budget and proposed tax rate and to allow public participation. If you notice, we do have a PowerPoint presentation, and I'm going to briefly go over what we published in the newspaper. What you have before you is a sample copy of what we published. If we look at in box A, we have the maintenance tax at 1.04, and we have the school debt service tax at 0.3555. The sum totals to 1.3955, and that's what we are proposing to adopt tonight. In box B, we have the comparison of the proposed budget with last year's budget. When we do that comparison, we show an increase of 5.45% in maintenance and operations costs and 5.37% increase in the debt service cost, for the total expenditures of 5.44% increase. Next, in box C, we have the total appraised value and total taxable value. For the current tax year, the total appraised value of all property is $3 billion. Compared to the preceding year, there's an increase of about $36 million. Next, we have the total appraised value of new property. Last year, it was at $125 million. For the current tax year, the post-tax year, it will be at $22,368,175. Next, we have the total taxable value of all property. It decreased by $65 million from $2.1 billion to $2 billion. And that has to do with the homestead policy change, you're right, from $10,000 to $25,000. Then we have the total taxable value of new property from $118 million that was recorded last year. For the current year, it decreases, not decreases, but we'll have $21.3 million for that category. Next, in box D, we have
Any questions on the board? Please feel free to interact at this time, okay? Go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. In box D, we have outstanding principal in the amount of $241,199,910. That will be as of 8/31/2015. Then we have in box E the comparison of proposed tax rates with last year's rates. The last year rate, the total was 1.4108. The rate to maintain same level of maintenance and operations in revenue and pay debt service it was calculated at 1.4386. What we're proposing is 1.3955, which is less than the rate to maintain the same level of service, and that has to do with the increase in state aid. They were able to decrease that tax rate. Then in box F, we have the comparison of proposed levy with last year's levy on average residence. This year, we estimate the average market value of a residence to be $75,364, which is a slight increase over last year. The average taxable value of a residence was computed at $43,686. Again, that's due to the increase in the homestead exemption. The last year's rate versus proposed rate per $100 value, it's 1.3955, a decrease from 1.4108. The taxes due on the average resident last year, it was $743.76. For this year, it will be $609.64.
That's an exemption.
Yeah.
So the decrease in taxes will be about $134 for the average residents.
Yes. Moreno.
When the state figures out how much money we're getting for debt service, do they take into consideration the appraised value or the taxable value?
The taxable value.
So that
The net.
percentage ought to be higher this year?
The percentage of what? I'm sorry.
That we get from the state?
Yes, ma'am. They're going to hold us harmless for the difference in the increase in the exemption amount. So yes, the stated amount will be higher.
Let me ask you on the, just to clarify on why, if you can explain how the homestead exemption works. In my mind is, in looking at these numbers over the last 2 years, are we saying we're getting in the elderly population or the over 70 population is increasing in our area? Is that fair to say for exemptions purposes?
Anyone owning a home in our district would get an increase in their exemption. Whether if they're over 65, obviously they do have that extra exemption
So
amount.
it doesn't have to do with I mean, does it have to do with the age process, or is it everybody?
Everybody, homeowner within
Okay.
the district.
So in our case, it's everybody.
Yes, sir.
And the
Homeowners.
exception went up this year, right?
Yes, sir.
Is that reflecting in our amounts of money? Now we're
Yes,
going to
in
have
our
less
budget.
money.
Yes, sir. That's assuming that we're moving that copper penny up into the tier 1,
Right.
which the board had no issue with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Then in box G, the rollback rate was calculated at 1.4271. That's if that's the highest rate of that the district can adopt before requiring voter approval at an election. And finally, on box H, we have the fund balances for maintenance and operations, $76 million. In the interest and sinking fund, we have a balance of $1.9 million. Dr. Nelson?
Why would the rollback rate be lower than the rate to maintain the same level?
That we do go through a series of calculations. I did notice that. It just so happens that it's based on the amount of tax collections that we certify. Since we're certifying at 100%, that is the calculation that we got. And that's based on the formula. Now, again, if you look at the last year's rates, I'm sorry, compared to this year, we got more state funding. So obviously the rates to tax our taxpayers will be less if we have an increase in state aid.
What percentage of rate of collection are we projecting?
For this purpose, 100%.
100%?
For the tax rate.
And for the entire budget?
For the budget, we are calculating 98% on current, though.
How much?
98% on the current levy.
On the current, okay.
Yes. I'm sorry. Then we also published our annual budgets for the 199 General Operating Fund at estimated revenues of $221.3 million and appropriations of $222.5 million with transfers out in the amount of $641,556. Then we also have our debt service funds, followed by our capital projects and proprietary funds, which require no board approval, yet we do provide that information to our taxpayers. And
why is our appropriation more than our revenues?
the what? That's right. If you notice in the 180 and the 181, we do transfers in and out, mostly in the E-rate, and we're using that fund balance. And when you net it out, you see that impact. But if you look at 199, we do show a balanced budget.
Is that because we're using funds we already have in those budgets?
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Nelson?
So, Mr. President, just as we conclude, before we allow for public comments, on page 5, you have a summary.
Okay.
You want to go over those special revenue funds real quick?
Those special revenue funds, Dr. Nelson, we publish them just for informational purposes, but they do not require board approval.
Okay. And so, with that, Mr. President, that concludes the information we annually provide for the public, and we now would open it up to comments or questions from the board or to complete the public hearing.
Okay. I'd like to invite any member of the public to have questions or remarks to our budget for 15-16. Anybody in the audience?
Currently, Mr. President, nobody signed up for it, but I think we still have to offer it 3 times,
Yes, sir.
just so you'll know.
Second invitation, anybody in the public like to make some comments or like to ask some questions of our staff? Asking for a third time. Anybody in the public is interested in asking questions or making reactions to the to our budget discussion? Having nobody in the podium, okay, any other items in this?
I do have a question, but I guess I could ask it in the next session.
Okay, in the second,
Yeah.
okay.
You want to go ahead and ask it so we need to
So you
prepare?
can plan, so so you can get the
case
answer
we need to go
during the next
research.
session, yes.
Okay. This being a regular public hearing, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Nobody opposed. This hearing is now closed. We will have a
This
5-minute
is-
break,
It-
so we can
isn't
go
it
into the
5:30
next.
Isn't
Yeah,
the
you
other
go
one
ahead
at
and go,
5:30?
Mr. President. We can go.
You can go.
We can go.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go ahead and go to the regular
35:38.
special call meeting. Special call meeting.
So maybe we can proceed, Mr. President?
Yes.
We're going to skip the pledge and roll call and all that?
Well, we have the pledge already, but we'd like to have a roll call at this time.
Yes, sir.
There's nothing on the budget on the second one? Should have asked my
We
question.
go through,
History.
let me renew the roll call.
We have another.
No, that's for the public hearing. Mr. Jesus Martinez,
Present?
Mr. Rosero Valdez. Jose Valdez, yeah. Mr. Ricardo Garza, present. Mr. Hector Noyola.
Here.
Dr. Celia May Moreno.
Present.
Mr. Hector Garcia.
Present.
And Mr. Rosero Perez is absent.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, we'll dispense with the Pledge of Allegiance. We had it at the beginning of this afternoon. Dr. Nelson,
Thank you,
item
Mr.
1.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item number 1 is discussion and possible action to approve the updated 2015-2016 capital improvement plan. And as presented, we've went over this several times. You've received a copy of it. It is nothing that is out of line with our capital improvement plan that we've been working on. We have $1.5 million total committed in this year's budget to capital improvement, $1 million in year 3 of the capital improvement plan, and $500,000 approximately in equipment. And so we've provided that in a board update, and you have it on the CD. And we're asking approval or answer any comments or questions about the capital improvement plan for 15-16.
So let me ask, my concern was that you gave us the budget in a different format than what we had in July. So it's now we need to figure, where are these funds under this budget? The format.
Okay, I'm not sure.
It's not the same format.
Throughout the budget development process, we do go over the proposed budget by object.
Right.
Last month, we did present it to you in the format that needs adoption by the board, which is by function. As a matter of fact, I did provided you all were interested in the differences and the variances of what caused those increases, and it was provided to you through the board update.
I guess the reason I say is because the numbers don't match what you gave us in July and what you're giving us now. So I'm trying to figure out what changed.
And you're right. Yes, what changed
So what
were
changed?
our estimates. Our estimates in the projected budget changed.
Shouldn't we have received some information about the things that were changed? I mean, all along, you know, it's been real
It was
similar.
the estimates. It was the estimate columns, Dr. Nelson.
I remember.
And I think I was gonna. I think I reported in the budget update. I'm not sure, but I was supposed to inform you that in the projected how we anticipate ending the fiscal year changed based on some estimates that staff was
Right.
running. Not so much the proposed budget. It was the projected budget.
Not the proposed, but the projected? That's even worse.
Okay, so in the proposed budget, the only change was that we presented a surplus budget, if you will. Then a concern was raised, and what we did, we appropriated those surplus.
But we can't see where you appropriated them.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you changed the format.
I changed the format. I can tell you where it was appropriated. It was appropriated for fleet replacement, and in the transfers out to appropriate for the admin building in the amount of 1.6 million. And it's actually here, yes, as Angel is saying, in his capital improvement he gave it a green color. This green color,
Yeah.
and that's where all the all the funding is going to, yes.
So the July proposed budget was 198,468. This one is 197 before we get to the transfers. And then at the end, it's equals our revenues, right? 201, I assume there's never a total at the bottom.
No, because you need to add total appropriation
Right, I
and
need to
transfers
add 'em,
out,
but-
right?
So it's hard to track. So, I mean, why, you gave us this all along and then, oops, just when it's time to approve, here it is, this other format.
I don't understand a certain other format. It's the same numbers, but the board
No,
needs
the numbers are not
adoption.
the same. You know,
The
you
numbers
have
differ.
payroll at 170, there's no payroll item here. Because it becomes instruction and it becomes building maintenance, but it's not the same format. So you can't see what's the difference.
So all along, like I said, during the budget development process, we would provide the information by object. Yes, estimate revenues and
By
expenditures.
payroll costs, by
Exactly.
contracted services, yes.
Known as objects, right.
Okay.
But the board, in order for the board to approve it, it needs to be in a functional format, not like this.
So
You
why are
cannot
we
approve-
using this?
We-
You take us
yes.
through this all along, and then when it comes times to approve, it looks different. So we don't know what the
And
changes
you're right.
were.
What happened was that we were asked many years ago to go through this process, Dr. Moreno, and it was even before your time, and we have sustained it. So in the future, if you want us to follow the functional format of,
I
we
think
can.
for
We're
now,
welcome
we
to do
need to
it.
see it in both ways. I mean,
And
I
we
don't
do
have
have a
any
copy. Did
problems
you want
with
the
your
copy?
news, with the new presentation, but I want to be able to compare to what we have been following up all along.
Well, if you want a recess, we do have that available, and we can run copies.
Or we can start going to another item, and then you bring them to us.
Yes, we can.
Let's see if we can work on it today, so we don't have to reset.
No, go through recess. We do have this chart available by
Okay.
object, yes.
But it was
Okay.
broken down to us on a spreadsheet on where it was-
By
everything
function.
was.
Right.
And
Yes.
also all you did was transfer you all basically transferred the numbers from.
I understand.
By function.
Have
Okay.
Where it tells you what's coming locally, local FT,
So,
where it's coming up
I hear you.
within the budget.
I understand. Mr. President, may I interject?
Okay,
What
Dr.
I'd
Nelson?
like to propose, just in the interest of respecting the trustees' concern and very respectfully staying on the agenda item as it reads, is it safe for us to assume that the board understands that the 15-16 capital improvement plan has approximately $1.5 million in expenditures, $1 million of that is approximately in year 3 of our capital improvement plan and has been identified, and approximately 500,000 is in equipment. And if we're okay with that, then while Ms. Ayala and her team prepare the budget presentation that meets Dr. Moreno's expectations, we can go ahead and go to the district improvement plan.
Either that, if it's not overlapping any of the numbers on that, the district improvement plan, it's not,
It's the same information.
unless you want to go over items 3 and 4 first.
We can do that, or 2, 3. Why don't we just go to 2 and then we'll come back to 1, Dr.
Right.
Moreno, if that's
Dr.
okay.
Moreno, what do you
The
think?
budget anyway, it's along
Fine.
later on, Dr. Nelson.
On to another one, and then bring us
Yes.
that.
Okay,
So,
let's go ahead and do that.
thank you, Mr. President. Item number 2 is discussion and update on the 2015-2016 District Improvement Plan and Campus Improvement Plans. We do not have this agenda item for action, but this is the second time we've now publicly brought the District Improvement Plan and Campus Improvement Plans because they're uniquely tied to the budget.
Do they have measurable objectives?
They do have measurable objectives.
I didn't see very many of them.
Okay, well, we definitely have tried to the word I want to say is, it's not the right word, beef up our improvement plan. I think it does still need a little bit of tweaking as we go forward. We were bringing that in September for action, but we just wanted to have a conversation with it here during our budget to show how they're linked. And really, we welcome any feedback from our trustees because it's a pretty thick plan, but
It's got a lot of we will continue to do and we will continue to do, but not enough about we will improve by
we're going to
this
do
much.
different this year, yes. That's good feedback, and we'll definitely clean that up for our future discussion. And we're welcoming that feedback. We're asking for that because it's a pretty thick plan, but we are using it. Any other comments or questions regarding number 2 on the agenda?
No, I guess I'm going with
The other thing is to be a little bit, and you're right, there was some words in there that were, just came out a lot. I'm not sure if you can make it a little bit reader-friendly in terms of, word friendly that's going to be, in other words, I think there's too many generalities, right? Did you get that?
You know, the truth is, if I can respond to that, Mr. Garza, because I agree with you. I read every page of it as well. Gets a little redundant. A lot of we will continue, and the staff's argument is these are the strategies that we've been using.
And this is supposed to be the new things that we're going to do in order to improve. It's not about doing the same thing. It's about doing better.
Well, there's definitely a philosophical pedagogy about that. The things there's some things that we believe in, like writing, for example, is one of our weakest areas. But the things that we want to continue to do is write across the curriculum, get kids writing in journals, things like that. I don't know how you come up with a new.
How about
I
training
thought
the
he meant-
teachers in the writing process?
I thought it was on the plan itself, the writing process. I thought writing on the.
So that's a point well taken.
On a number, you know what, we want to improve by 20%.
No, that's in there.
Yes.
That's in there. That's in there.
But no, it's but it's always we're working on getting there. We're working on it. This year. This is our goal, to hit 20%, to hit 10%. We need 70% to go. At least 10 of the 70%, or 15 of the 70%, whatever the situation is. But it does. It just, you started reading and you got bored because it's the same thing.
Did we evaluate any progress or how we did with last year's plan?
Last year's money?
No, last year's improvement plan, district and campus improvement plans. Do we have an evaluation of how we did with those plans?
The evaluation of the teacher's part of it.
I don't think it was
Of the
complete.
plan.
There's
We
formative
said we were going to
evaluations.
do
Of our
this.
plan.
Yes, we did it. Do we have an evaluation of our performance based on what we said we were going to do?
Right.
We can
Yes,
bring
I
that.
stopped reading because I got bored.
They have formative evaluations
Yeah,
every.
I mean, it is, but that's not really what they're talking about.
No,
Yeah.
we're talking about a starting point.
You're right. You're right.
It has to be a
but-
starting point, because
Right.
we can't say 20% increase, but you can increase from what, because you don't have
If we
that.
evaluate ourselves and we say we got 100% of everything we said we were going to
No.
attain,
Right.
then I'm going to say that plan wasn't very much because we're not at 100% of where we want to be.
In the process, we repeated what we did last year?
That's, yes.
But I think from a reading point of view, that's what it looked like, because it didn't have a starting point. If we made 100% of what we said we were going to do, it did say, well, 100% from what? And you see what I'm saying?
From the proposed.
There wasn't a proposed. That's the proposed number of the starting point wasn't there.
benchmark.
Yeah, whatever that benchmark was. And that's why I always say when we bring these things over, when we're talking about goals, they have to be attainable goals, number one. Number two is a goal well-defined. And I thought the goals were well-defined, I thought, at the beginning. I think we veered off a little bit on those and didn't specify exactly how we were going to get it. A hard number. If it's going to be a 12%, and then like Mr. Garcia says, we're down 70, well, I'd like to see the 12. I think it adds something to that 12%, because it is going to be hard to go get 70% back of it. But over the next 5 years, we can hit the 70. But
Sure.
Okay, anything else on item 3?
We have some follow-up.
You have your work ready for that?
Yes. May we proceed?
Yes.
Item number 3 is discussion and possible action
Oh,
to
I thought
approve the 2015 local property values as certified by the Webb County Appraisal District. Our District Director of Tax Services will take us through this agenda item, Mr. Rodolfo Sanchez.
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. For the record, Rodolfo Sanchez, Director of Tax Collection for Laredo ISD. Mr. Martinez, good evening. Board members, good evening. Members of the audience, good evening. On page 58, if you go to page 58, you're going to find the 2015 certification. This is a summary certification. You can also see it up on the screen. It goes into more detail than what was previously on the first section of today's meeting. It gives you your item description on the left far. The first column is the 2015 tax year values. The next column is last year's values and the variance between both of them. The number that you'd probably be most interested on is the taxable value. You will notice that in 2015 it is $2,082,684,785 compared to last year at $2,147,390 and $449, a decrease of $65,321,664. Primarily, the variance drop here, it has to be attributed to the increase of the homestead exemption from $10,000 to $25,000. A effect of that also is that any property that's on our tax roll that is at less than $25,000, for example, if we have a taxable property at $20,000, when we apply the new exemption of $25,000, that $20,000 taxable value becomes zero. And we have quite a number of those properties that were zero out for the new tax year. So that accounts for the $65 million drop. At this point, Mr. President, are there any questions that I'd like to entertain?
No, I'm sorry. Mr. Garcia?
No, do you need a motion from us?
I'll just need to read the certification and then I'll ask for a show of hands on the motion to accept. And the certification reads as follows. I, Rodolfo Sanchez, RTA, which stands for Registered Tax Assessor, CSTA, which stands for Certified School Tax Administrator, Director of Tax Collections, do hereby certify that the property values for tax year 2015 as listed above are true and correct as certified by the Webb County Appraisal, Chief Appraiser, Mr. Martin Villarreal, as of July 24, 2015. At this time, Mr. President, I'd ask for a motion to approve the values as presented.
Motion to approve the...
Mr. Garcia moved.
Second.
Second, Mr. Valdez.
Yeah.
Any other further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We have accepted the proposed amounts. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. If we may proceed for item number 4.
Yes. Okay.
Dr. Nelson.
Item number 4 is discussion and possible action to approve 4 required certifications by Mr. Rodolfo Sanchez, RTA CSTA Director of Tax Collections, as listed below. A, the anticipated debt collection rate for tax year 2015, fiscal year 2015-2016. B, the excess debt collections for tax year 2014, fiscal year 2014-2015. C, the submission of the rollback tax rate for 2015 tax year, fiscal year 2015-2016. And D, the estimated unencumbered fund balance for the maintenance and operations and the interest and seeking funds for fiscal year 2014-2015. Mr. Sanchez?
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. For this item on 4A, if you please go to page 58. You'll need to click 4A, and then we're going to go to page 58 after that. Okay.
For the same.
There you go.
to see, let's say from IT, how many more
Well.
calls did you see last year? How many were not returned?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they take the computer whether they receive it 6 months later. That's one that I noticed. Operations, the same thing. How many work orders went in for AC or light or like I said, how many will work? How many were complete?
You'll see on your screen at the on your PC as well as on the screen on the wall is page 82 is the anticipated collection rate for 2015. Every year I'll certify a collection rate for debt service. The collection rate that I would certify today has an effect on what we're going to be doing next year. What we're doing this year has an effect of what we did last year. Last year I came before this board and certified the 2014 collection debt rate, and that will have effect on some of the other items. This year is the 2015 collection debt rate, and it's certified at 100% collections. The breakdown in the interest and sinking for the 2015-2016 revenue sources is $26,958,263 will be coming from is a debt service payment requirement, of which from the existing debt allotment and state aid, $12,838,571 or 47.62% will be coming in from the EDA state aid. An additional 24.33% or $6,556,978 is coming from the instructional facilities allotment revenue from state aid. We're not using any reserve funds from district level. Local share to be raised through revenues in the tax rate is $7,562,714 or 28.05. The 2014-2015 ending sinking and rate for the year ending August 31st is $1,917,681. Again, Mr. President, the anticipated collection rate for tax year hereby certified for 2015 at 100%.
Comments or questions from the board? Otherwise, we ask for approval as presented.
So
Okay.
move.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, Mr. Garcia and Mr. Noyola. Now, this is for Section A or A, B, and C, and D?
Section A only.
Section A only,
Well,
okay.
go ahead. I'll ask for a motion of approval as we present each item. So this will be
Okay.
Section 4A.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Nobody opposed? Okay, we accept Section A. Okay, next item, please. Continue, Mr. Sanchez.
Section 4B, Mr. Nelson, if I may proceed?
Yes, please.
Thank you. 4B reads the excess debt collections for tax year 2014, fiscal year 2014-2015. 2014 certification of...
We didn't get a copy of that report.
Can you say?
But we didn't get a copy. So what?
In the hard copy.
That page was page 79, if I was just looking at it on the packet, if you have the numbered pages.
Page 79 of what?
On your computer. On the agenda item.
It's on your, it should be on your screen right now.
No, I know.
2014 certification,
We didn't deserve one.
no, that's not it.
This is what was not collected, right?
Sí, pero no.
I mean, a discussion on that area.
Algo está fallando, manito.
No, estaba ahí, but it wasn't on this packet.
Esto te
It
lo
wasn't
voy a
on the
quitar.
it was on the disc. It's on the follow-up and
Part of the backup of the disc?
yeah, back.
Nobody has checked any of this.
No, it's unencumbered. You want the excess.
Discussed most of this before.
That's it.
Oh, yeah, but not this one. Estas figuras aquí te las pueden ver cambiando. Ya cambió una.
Okay.
You'll see the excess debt collection for 2014 on your screen. Certification of excess debt collections as the interest and sinking for tax year 2014 is none. We're certifying 0 excess collections. And this is for purposes of being able to do the calculations that are required of us of the effective tax rate and the rollback tax rate. The debt service requirement is $7,695,000. The amount over the budget requirement is $16,682. The debt service collection rate is 100.22. A tax year 2014 fiscal year 2014-2015 anticipated collection rates certified at the start of the 2014 tax year were certified at 100%. If a tax unit collects more than 100%, it will use 100% of debt service funds collected and report no excess collections. In tax year 2014, fiscal year 2014-2015, the certified anticipated collection rate was set at 100%, and the actual debt collection rate is 100.22. The 2014-2015 excess debt collection in the amount of $16,682 over 100.22% level is not considered excess collections as defined in the truth of taxation requirements and has been included in the 2014-2015 INS debt service fund balance.
We recommend approval.
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Nobody opposed? The second item, or the second section passes. Third section?
The third section is the submission of the rollback tax rate for 2015 tax year. Mr. Sanchez?
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. You'll see the certification for 2015 of the rollback tax rate for 2015 on your screen. A certification of the rollback tax rate for tax year 2015. The rollback tax rate for tax year 2015, fiscal year 2015-2016 is 1.4271 per $100 valuation. This is the maximum total tax rate that this school district may adopt without a tax rate ratification election. Any total tax rate greater than 1.4273 per $100 valuation will trigger an automatic rollback election. An automatic tax rate ratification election would occur within 90 days. In order to avoid an automatic rollback election, staff recommends that the school district adopt a tax rate that is less than the rollback tax rate. I, Rodolfo Sanchez, as Director of Tax Collection for Laredo Independent School District, do hereby certify the 2015 tax year rollback tax rate for fiscal year 2015-2016 is 1.4271 per $100 valuation. Staff recommends approval.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody oppose? Nobody opposes. The motion carries. Item number 4 or D.
4D is the estimated unencumbered fund balance for the maintenance and operations and the interest and sinking funds for fiscal year 2014-2015. Mr. Sanchez?
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. A 2014 certification of unencumbered fund balances are as follows. As of the date of calculation, which was July 25, 2015, it is estimated that the August 31, 2015 unencumbered, unaudited fund balances are as follows. For the maintenance and operation, the estimated unaudited fund balance for M&O funds for fiscal year ending August 31st, 2015 is $76,097,008. And for the interest and sinking fund, the estimated unencumbered fund balance as of August 31st, 2015 is estimated to be at $1,917,681. I do hereby certify as Director of Tax Collection for the Laredo Independent School District, do hereby certify that the estimated unaudited fund balances for the Maintenance and Operation Fund and the Interest and Sinking Fund as listed above are true and correct as their calculation. Staff recommends approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the fourth section as recommended. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Nobody opposes. The motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. May we proceed, Mr. President?
Yes, please.
Item number 5 is discussion and possible action to approve the 2015-2016 annual budget. For the record, before we get into the different categories, Dr. Moreno, staff has provided an update that's the same format. I want to thank them for that quick turnaround and an opportunity to clarify the questions that Dr. Moreno was asking. If there's no other comments or questions on what was submitted.
Mr. Garza?
Yeah, just let me apologize to you in reference to the campus improvement plan. I know we're going to talk about that, but and reading a little bit more after it, this is a generalized statement about what you're going to do. And what I took it to mean when you all were presenting it to us, that you were going to come up with some figures already in place.
The budget is in there.
Huh?
The general fund budget is in there.
Right, as part of this thing. So, but this
Yes.
is not, I mean, this is a general statement. Again, it involves everything put together with this
Right.
plan right here.
We're aligning our costs to
I'm
the,
saying that some of these things are, and that's why I said it has to be a little bit more reader-friendly. You sort of have to get, I had to get to the last page to find out what the meaning of this book was, you know, because it went into so much detail. But anyway, it was inconclusive on my part.
Well, and I just want to respond to that, and I know our relationship can handle this. You know, the district improvement plan's a moving target, and we really try to update that based on every periodic assessment that we give. I agree that it's thick, and that's one of the reasons we provide it. It's tied to our goals, so there's one for operations and efficiency, there's one for attendance and truancy and support services, and on and on. And it's all, the reason why we do it now is in terms of update is because it has figures tied to it. Now, it's not at all, we're not trying to suggest,
Well,
I'm not sure what your point that
My point is this, is when we're talking about finances, I have no problem with it, because we're talking numbers. But I don't know what a success rate for student services is going to be compared to finances. What a success rate would be to GT programs compared to finances. What do we consider? You have the little emojis or whatever it is down there that are going to tell us, what is going to be done. So I'm assuming that in October, when you see it for the first time, you're going to come back to a report that says, we evaluated everything in this book, and these are our results. Work in progress, complete, not complete.
on the first formative evaluation.
Right.
Sir.
So it's going to go down the line, which is going to be a heavy-duty reading for us. The only thing is that because it's such a general statement as it is right now, that we are not going to be able to tell the specifics and some of the dialect
And we
that you
still
have in it.
have about 10 more, 15 days that we can go and tweak it some more.
Well, I mean, it's sort of, it's a rating system based on, and like I said, you all are going to come to me, technology department. You know what I would like for the technology department to say? How many computers were turned over to be serviced? How many work orders did they get? Is a successful rate 100% turnover in 30 days to turn over the computers that didn't work? The Division of Operations, we got 1,000 work orders this week or this month. We turned around and we did 900 work orders on all of that.
And that should be one of their measures in there, obviously.
Well, I saw it as sort of like a general statement where we have technician services. We go to a child nutrition center. What is we did it? We did 20,000 plates.
No.
But I'm not sure if the well, it wouldn't be right. But we threw away 10,000 of them because I mean, did it provide the nutritional standards that we needed to meet? Could we have done better?
So, I mean, sort of
Metrics.
In terms
The
of
metrics.
decrease in meals.
Right now, the grid that you have there, I think is okay, but it just, I was trying to figure out the wording.
Well, if you can give us an example, because we tried our best to
No,
tell
it's like
staff
I
to
said,
do that.
I think the grid is fine. I think the grid is fine. The grid is good. The wording on that grid is a little bit generalized in that, what I'm saying is that I'm with you, that by October, we're going to get when you do your first
Status
formative
report.
evaluation, you're going to get the numbers and the details to this. That's why I'm apologizing, because I was expecting some numbers already.
Oh,
And when I was reading it, I said, wait a minute, it's a formative plan right now of action. It hasn't been enforced yet.
Well, and really,
But he
you
did
have,
say he's expecting some in October.
absolutely. And we're gonna
It says there,
exceed,
October.
we're gonna exceed the board's expectations in this.
Huh? Yeah,
It's
I know.
online.
Is the FTEs that were added, are they part of this? Because
I saw some in there.
I saw some of them, but I didn't see all of them.
They should, whatever was in our frozen file, whatever you're adopting, it should be aligned to that.
And the
Yes,
new ones that you asked for,
Yes,
like
sir.
Cigarro, they're on here?
I'm
I
not sure if
didn't see
they will be. They will be.
Okay.
We'll go through and make sure that we
Little
highlight
thing,
them.
but I just didn't.
Well, and that's, I
Back.
want to be clear that that's what the purpose of giving this to the board is for. Very respectfully, I don't know if everyone's read the 86-page document, as obviously some of you have, but any kind of feedback, FTEs, metrics, measurable objectives, anything that we need to tighten our game up, so to speak, well, then we want that feedback. That's why we're giving it to you today, and it's not for action.
Okay.
May we proceed, Mr. President?
Yes.
All right, I believe we're at item 5A to approve
Right.
the annual budget for the Child Nutrition Program. Ms. Ayala?
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. And now, we will go over the budgets that need approval from the board. We will begin with the Child Nutrition Program, Fund 101. Total revenues, $19,096,451. Total expenditures, $96,451. We're proposing a balanced budget for this fund. We recommend approval.
Are we
Recommend a-
using any of their fund balance?
Not on the proposed budget. We will be in compliance. Generally, during the year, things will come up. If they don't have enough to sustain the meal program, so we'll come and request for additional funds by amending the budget.
And if we don't use up their fund balance at all, is that any marking from the state?
No, ma'am, if you notice, we do plan to decrease that fund balance to 2.8 from 4.7. So with that amount, they should be in compliance with the 3-month expenditure rate.
Question.
Yes.
Why is on the revenues the local sources bigger than the state sources?
Most of the revenues generated through federal sources, the state really, those are probably small grants that they get from the state through applications, grants. If I'm not mistaken, Bobby, is that what it is? Okay. And the local sources are basically caterings that they do. And the contracts with the nonprofits.
Any other comments or questions regarding the Child Nutrition Program, Mr. President?
No.
If not, we recommend approval of item 5A as presented.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. The motion carries with.
Item number 5B is the E-rate part of our annual budget. Ms. Ayala?
That will be Fund 180. Thank you,
Fund
Dr.
180,
Nelson.
excuse me.
Total revenues, $300,000. Total expenditures, $4,465,248. We do anticipate using $2 million of their fund balance, and general operating transfers in the amount of $455,000. By the end of the funding year, they will have zero fund balance. So we're utilizing their fund balance to fully fund all the projects under Fund 180.
Any comments or questions from the trustees? Having said none, we recommend approval.
So move.
Moved.
Second.
And seconded by Mr. Garcia. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Nobody opposed. Okay, the motion carries for item B. Athletics.
This will be Fund 181. Total revenues, $202,000. These are generally the gate receipts. Total expenditures, $1,473,330. With transfers in order to support that program in full, general fund will be transferring $1,271,330.
So this includes the increase in those athletic stipends?
Yes, ma'am.
Are they in here? And the addition of some programs for the middle school?
Yes.
All that's in here.
That's a pretty inexpensive
Jump.
Yes.
Yes.
All of that is costing us less than $50,000?
That sounds about right to me. I'm thinking about the stipends at the middle schools. I guess we haven't really funded the, I'm thinking about jerseys and.
We added FTEs, some coaches, and
I know all
stipends.
that's in there. Stipends so I know that would cover the 50, but we'll get a detailed itemized
I
list.
just thought that what we were doing in addition would have cost more money unless we reduce the appropriation somewhere in the other programs.
The stipends are in the 199. This is just.
Okay, there's
okay,
So
yes.
they're not here.
Makes a difference.
So we didn't reduce what we had here, we just added what we needed because of the new programs?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Nobody here from athletic office?
Yes, the athletic director is behind the chief financial
Can't
officer.
see her, I can't see you back there, okay. Thank you. That's fine.
So we recommend.
Sorry, did we discuss, and I was going to ask a question about that, and you asked it on the stipends. Did we give clear direction on what those stipends are going to include? Right, no, but do we give strict directive on why we're giving those stipends and what we expect?
The expectation.
The expectation
The
of those stipends.
expectations are every year, so we just got to follow through and do
Yeah, but these are new positions. These
based
are
on evaluations and records and.
So if that
just.
if that goes along with those.
It'll be in the DIP. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
so-
sir.
They should be in the.
Should be in the DIP.
Mr. President?
I don't know if it falls from us, but in hiring of a head coach, the final say-so of the last two candidates should come to the superintendent for approval. Is that, David? Any head coach. I looked into different districts and it goes to, any head coach is hired at the end of the day by the superintendent. And if we have to put it in writing, then I'd like it on the next agenda.
Yes.
That it reads that. But any head coach, final say-so, is the superintendent and only the superintendent. Not the principals, not anybody else. The recommendations come from them to the superintendent. The superintendent is the one that makes the decision. I looked into UID, San Antonio, but everybody goes to the superintendent for last.
Judson.
Right. So
Is that the case?
Bring it
Or-
to us in that kind of form.
So it used to be the principal, now it's going to be the superintendent.
Principal make the
The
recommendation.
truth is I'm involved
still-
with.
yeah.
But usually the principals
I've been
want to have
involved
the
with,
final
I'm
word.
going to say 90% of them. Every now and then there's one that, for some reason, it just doesn't rise to my level, but if it's a varsity.
It should be 100%.
I agree, and I don't have no problem with that. I just want to be clear that I've already been indirectly involved with most major appointments.
Okay. It is now 100%.
Sure, sure, we can change that
Valdez?
regulation.
Okay, the athletic program, I want to make sure, now this includes what was it, 240,000 or 140, how much was it that the stipends were going to cost?
200 and.
Yeah, it was 180,000 or something like that.
Okay.
243,000.
But
200 and something.
then
243.
the budget this year, this coming year, is, from what I've heard, about 50,000 more than what it was last year. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. But
Well,
that's
how
on
do we figure those 240-some thousand that almost broke the whole Laredo Independent School District's discretionary monies program. You know, how is that involved in here now? In other words, I'm trying to make some sense, you know, because I don't appreciate somebody coming in here telling us that the sky is going to fall unless we do X, Y, and Z. And then when as Mr. Garcia says, you know, at the end of the day, we find out that it wasn't so. Can you explain that?
You know, I can be responsible for that. Really, your point is well taken, Mr. Valdez.
I'm not trying to make a point. I'm asking a question.
Okay, well, when we brought, many months ago, when we brought the idea of alleviating our budget situation at the time, it was an idea to use, we did not, I don't agree with you that the sky, we presented it as if the sky was falling. It was an idea that we brought it to the board because we wanted to get some feedback from the board. The board was emphatically clear that we needed to go search for other options. We've done that, and we've been, your point about bringing that option, you made that point then, and to bring it back up now is well taken, and that's the way the budget process works. And so I know I speak for our finance department when we talked about reducing the discretionary. If you want to bring it up, I can tell you that our finance department feels strongly that we could reduce it. They're not the ones making the call on that. They recognize that, and we've moved on. So that's just where we're at.
We didn't have the new funding from the state as well.
Got it.
I'm not bringing anything up. I'm asking some questions.
Yes, sir.
Okay. My questions were, you know, what is it that, why is it that we needed 100 and you said 80 some thousand, and yet the budget only increased by 150,000? I believe there is no answer to that. Okay? Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes.
Money for the stipends is coming from where?
Agree. For the record, I don't agree.
Where's the money for the stipends coming
It's in
from?
another
What part of the
fund.
budget?
It's the transfer in. Look at the stipends are 199, but we also, remember, we increased the
traveling.
cross-country and equipment for our kids. So that is the reason why you see that slight increase reflected in Fund 181. The stipends for the coaches will be reflected in the 199.
Okay, not in the athletic department budget.
Not in the
Goes
athletic
under the
fund.
salary one.
Okay.
Right. And when we,
Okay.
may I?
Can we approve that?
We didn't have any money for the elementary recruiting or recruiting parents to help us have a better program for the elementary kids in basketball, flag football, and such, right? We didn't add any money for that?
No, sir.
At all?
We did not.
Do we still have that
Terrible,
$800
terrible.
stipend
$800 stipend.
that used to be in there at the elementary level?
Do we?
A few years back, no?
We'll check.
It could
I
be
don't
that
know.
people are getting it and not doing anything for it.
It's okay.
Oh. You don't know? No. We'll check.
Okay, any other discussion on the athletic funds?
I move that we approve Athletic Fund 181.
As presented and seconded. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Nobody opposes? Okay. It passes. Go to the next section, please.
5D is
Technology.
function 182, technology. Ms. Ayala?
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. This fund is an old fund that we converted into general fund because it didn't meet the criteria of special revenue fund. We're trying to spend it out. Total revenues, basically interest earnings on that account that we anticipate $250. Total expenditures $140,000. We do plan to anticipate in spending $139,750 to support its total expenditures, leaving a fund balance of $97,928 at the end of the period.
Any comments or questions on that, Mr. President, members of the board? No. If not, we recommend approval of item 5D, function 182, technology as presented.
Okay. Motion. Mr. Valdez moves. Need a second?
Second.
Mr. Garcia seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Nobody opposes. The motion carries. Next section, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item 5E is function 199, general operating. Ms. Ayala?
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. This is our major operating fund, and we, as staff, went and recreated these same numbers by object as we were using this format during the whole process, yet The Texas Education Agency requires that the board adopt the budget by functional categories. So we'll begin with total revenues.
Can you tell us about the capital outlay? What we previously had and what we have now?
Yes, ma'am. The capital outlay includes the $1.5 million of the original plan appropriation, plus the new funding for bus replacement. It's in there. And if you look at the capital projects fund, we have the 1.627 going out to the administrative building.
Going out to the what?
Admin building.
Admin building. If you look at it in the capital projects fund 616.
Okay. Bus replacement is how much?
Okay, let me bring back that.
Yeah, I was
400 and something, I remember.
I'll bring it up.
There seems to be, if I take that 4.7 million and I take away the 1.5, that's 3.2 million.
Right, 3.269.
No.
So what is the?
We are providing district-wide vehicle replacement in the amount of $1.6 million, plus 1.5.
So where's the rest of it?
What rest of it?
Admin building.
It's 3.2.
No. Okay. Go to your capital outlay account, the new one.
4.7.
4.7.
Right.
We said 1.5 was
the original budget.
CIP.
The original CIP plan.
Right.
Then you said 1.6 is the buses. Or what was
The new
that?
buses, right?
Fleet
So where's the
replacement.
difference?
The difference has to do with the equipment where they fall in the thresholds in projects that do not fall necessarily under capital projects, under the CIP. That's the explanation. We can do a reconciliation and provide it to
I
you.
think we need to see a reconciliation.
Okay.
Okay, sure.
Be glad to
What goes
provide.
in there like what? For example?
What would be an example where you put it somewhere
First,
else?
because it increased by $1 million from one budget to the next. In other
It
words,
increased
the
by-
one you gave us in July was $1 million less than the one you gave us today. So if it increased by 1 million,
Right, because we
should
did.
know what it is we're funding.
We increased it by the fleet,
By the what?
by the fleet, the 1.6.
So the fleet was not in the previous budget?
No, ma'am.
That wasn't the one you brought us in July, but it's now it's bringing it with the feed and all that.
Yes, the difference, yes, it's right there.
So you'll give us a reconciliation of what's in there?
Yes.
Any other comments or questions on the general operating fund, Mr. President?
Go ahead.
We recommend approval of item 5E
Okay.
as presented.
So moved.
Okay, we have, okay.
Question?
There's,
Mr.
Just a minute. No, I have some
Valdez would
questions
like
here.
to say something.
Are we
before
including in
vote?
here the salary increases?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what are the salary increases? I don't believe we took a vote on that.
We did.
Yes.
The board is on May 14th, 2015. The board approved for teachers a step increase plus $1,500 for approximate cost of $3.3 million. The board also approved the athletic stipends at $243,000, the adjustment for additional athletic stipends. The board approved a 2% increase for administrative employees for a cost of $611,000 and a 4% increase for paraprofessionals at a cost of $1.9 million. This board has already approved $6.2 million in salary increases that's in this
I
budget.
believe that was a workshop.
No, it was
When was the
approved.
date?
It was action.
And the minutes, well, I haven't received a copy of those minutes.
May 14th, 2015.
Okay, if that was May 14, I don't have a copy of the minutes.
Okay. We can provide that for you.
No, it should have been provided.
Well,
In other words, it was my understanding that we were still going to consider that the district up to the north was given 3% and 5%.
Right.
You know, for the different categories. And it was mentioned, you know, that 2% and I believe, 4%. And some of the discussion was that, of course, we had provided other services, other increases and so on. But I don't believe somebody made a motion. I know the discussion was there. Who made the motion? Who
Here's
seconded?
what, we can get that information on who made the
Motion was
motion.
made and a second was
The bottom
voted
line is
on.
here's what happened, just to clarify. The board approved it. We brought it to the board to after United made their adjustment, we discussed it as a board. Staff did not get feedback that we needed to bring some kind of adjustment. It was deliberated at the board level. There was never any action to increase what has already been approved. I have spoken to some trustees as recently as today that said we might want to consider that, and we're perfectly prepared to have that discussion about 3% for administration and 5% if that's the will of the board, but we didn't get
And that was on what date now?
we can pull that
I know you've got the
information for
dates
you.
here, but it was on 7,
It was after the district to the north made their adjustment. That's when we discussed it. So it was in July sometime.
when was that meeting? See, you have here copies of the,
We discussed the 4% and the 5%.
we discussed, yes?
And we decided not.
5%
And we
for
decided on the
paraprofessionals,
other one.
and we
We decided
decided
on
on
what we had.
4%, and we voted on it.
See, the last meeting was on 7/23.
Just bring in the minutes, that's all. we
Okay.
gotta do.
I'm sorry, the last workshop, where's the last board meeting?
Last meeting, we had a meeting then. I think.
The July meeting.
And that's like the, if I'm not mistaken, the
In fact,
last.
it was
work-
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, the last workshop that we talked about,
no
we
meeting
talked
here.
about the possibility
That's a
of,
budget issue.
of a pay raise, because of
Yeah,
2,000,
but I
we
meeting from,
decided, that basically with the step increase and what we're doing, we're probably giving as much or even more than they are. So I even said, you know what, forget the step and just go $2,000, and we said, no, we discussed that, but no action was taken on that part because we didn't want to increase it, at least I did.
Yeah, we left
We
it
did
without
do,
increase.
we are going to talk about is the possibility of increasing the substitutes pay rate.
Daily.
But that was the only one that was left pending.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the board meeting. The minutes are the ones that confirm what actually happened.
Right, so very respectfully, Mr. Valdez, are you suggesting that this didn't happen, that we're making this up?
I'm
or-
saying I'd like to see it.
Okay, like,
My memory's been slipping, you know, I am 74.
okay, and I respect that, I want to give you what you need, but I'm just saying.
Hey, let me tell you something
we can
else
take
too,
it-
you know.
We can take it to a vote right
Miss-
now.
You know, on these things where we have had these discussions and nothing actually happened, yet the Laredo Morning Times said some articles that were very, very flashy. On some of the items that we have already discussed, but
I guess,
anyway,
Okay.
Mr.
Any
President,
further discussion?
I just want to clarify that to respect Mr. Valdez's point, I did visit with another trustee, not Mr. Valdez, earlier today, and if this board wanted to make an adjustment to the current budget that we're asking for approval, I'm not recommending it, but if this board wanted to adjust administration another %, not sure why we would do that, but if this board wanted to, I suppose they could.
Okay.
And if you want to raise the paraprofessionals to 5%, we figured that cost. Now, that would come from that administration building fund that we had allocated, which I think we've identified as a priority. But I just want to be clear, we've calculated that. If there's a motion, a second to make that adjustment, we can do it today.
you already threw the spade out there, you know, that it will
Okay.
come from another building.
Yes, okay.
I'm just telling you where the funding source would be. I mean, board would
Okay,
want to know that.
that's something else.
Well-
We have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? No further discussion?
A motion
All
for
those in
what?
favor to
approve-
accept
To accept.
Except what?
A balanced
The,
budget.
the proposed section,
E199 general operating.
general operating fund.
Okay, now I
I
understand.
set the motion, Mr. Garcia, second.
Okay.
Discussion.
All those in favor?
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Okay, one opposed, Mr. Valdez. The motion carries. Thank you. Section F,
Thank you.
debit service.
Function 511, debt service, Ms. Ayala.
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. We anticipate total revenues of $27,121,160, with total expenditures of $26,958,263, giving us a little bit of excess of revenues of $162,897. We recommend approval.
Any discussion? Has been moved and seconded by?
So moved. I mean,
Second?
Second,
Okay.
sorry about that. Second.
No further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose.
And Mr. Valdez opposes?
I oppose.
For what reason? I don't know. Okay. Section 5 is finished. Now, section 6. I mean, item 6.
And possible action to approve a resolution to adopt a tax rate in two parts for the 2015 tax year, 2015-2016 fiscal year. A, maintenance and operating rate, and B, debt service rate. I believe we have we'll entertain a motion from the board.
I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a rate of $1.04 per $100 valuation for the Maintenance and Operations Fund and a 0.3955 per $100 valuation for the Interest and Sinking Fund for a total tax rate of 1.3955 per $100 valuation of this district, which is effectively a 0.25% increase in the tax rate.
Any discussion on this item? Has been moved and seconded by?
I have a...
Oh, hold it. We need a second.
Discussion.
Okay. Moving seconded. Discussion, Ms.
Yes, okay, according to this statement,
Mr. Valdez.
we're increasing the tax rate. Am I correct?
No, we're decreasing it.
Decrease.
Okay, so some people will get an increase if their property either remain the same in value or increased. Yes, they will.
Well, yes, if they do not have a homestead. If they have a business, obviously, and their property values did go up, you will
Well,
see.
let me clarify that. Don't smile so much. It's taxes. Okay. We used to have that effective tax rate years back, okay?
Yes, sir.
And that was taken away, of course, for political reasons, because it identified that we were always increasing, taxes, because values would go up, but then the people would be paying more for the same piece of property. And the excuse was that, well, we didn't raise the value, it was raised by the appraisal, that was done. Either way, those people got their taxes increased. And if we had adjusted the taxes, they would have paid the same amount as the previous year. In other words, if you don't want to increase taxes, all you have to do is say the taxes that were paid on a piece of property by anyone will be the same that they will pay this year. Unless, if you want to be politically correct, unless their value was decreased. And this way you do not increase taxes. What we're doing here is, while some properties lost value, most of them increased value.
But we reduced the tax
Okay,
rate.
hold it, please. Mr. Garcia?
How about the properties that you did improvements or properties that did renovations and all that?
Improvements?
Yeah, the property.
Well, you don't have to increase their taxes.
What you're saying, it stays the same. But it
Valuation
doesn't.
increases.
Evaluation, yeah. I know.
Okay.
But we don't do that. We don't do that. The county does that.
As being
Appraisal district.
the representative in the appraisal board, the appraisal board has guidelines from the state on what we can do and we cannot do. They go to workshops, they go through processes that are very, very fair and documented as much as possible. I'm always fighting for the right not to raise taxes. But some people's properties, depending on the place where they live, or depending on the, the value of the property according to what the state recommends, and we have to go by the state guidelines. We can't do it on our own. Some of the taxes go down, some of them will go up. And then there's challenges that are heard by the Board of Citizens, and those taxes then are challenged, and sometimes they will go lower, sometimes it will stay the same as recommended by the board. So there is a process. Maybe when it started, it was more political, and maybe we should try to keep the taxes as low as possible, which we're trying to. But at the same time, we do have to have an entity that will give us a fair market value of our properties. Now, what else can we do? What about a new property? Who's going to set the value for new properties? The value for new properties will be set by the appraisal board, the Webb County Appraisal Board, as determined by the amount of money that is invested on it. It was built in, right now, and we have to have some kind of guidelines, and the guidelines are set by the state and with our process here at the Webb County with board members from all the entities that are taxing that we approve this. So there is hopefully not that much politics going into this. As I notice, not too many people will come in and try to push for raising the taxes. We're trying to be as fair as possible, but they're trying to do the best they can according to and following state law. Mr. Valdez?
I spent 6 years in the appraisal district. As a matter of fact, Mr. Garcia and I served
as president
sometimes,
before.
yeah, right. And the appraisal district only appraises. The setting of taxes is up to the individual entities. And in other words, it's a different game. All the state laws there are designed to address the appraisal of properties. We do the other part over here. This is a very, very important subject because we use that word a lot, the taxpayers this, the taxpayers that, but then this is the moment. This is the time when we actually put ourselves on the line whether we're really looking after those people who pay taxes. And I'm talking not only about property, personal property, but also business entities. And here, again, you look at the local government entities that we have here, and we start the year with $76 million. Obviously, we don't have to raise another nickel there for at least another year. But a lot of people are paying taxes that they really could be using elsewhere. And that's my point here. When we used to have that effective tax rate, it was a little bit different, so they did away with that because it was a little bit controversial, we may. Here, the statement says that we're increasing the tax rate. Shouldn't we be talking about taxes, whether we're increasing taxes or not increasing taxes? You're talking about the tax rate. Why don't we talk about taxes? There's a difference between the tax rate and taxes. Yet here it says we're adopting a tax rate, blah, 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 blah. Well, are we increasing taxes or not? There used to be that by law you have to advertise in the newspaper.
No, the tax rate is at 1.395.
We used to have to put in there whether we were increasing the taxes or not. Are we increasing taxes?
No.
Okay, the tax rate.
Our tax rate was.
It was at 1.42.
1.42 is 139, so we decreased.
Like 2 pennies.
Like 2 pennies.
Yes. As published, yes, and we told the taxpayer that in our publication.
As a matter of fact, we told the taxpayers that we were going to increase when we did the bond, but we weren't. We worked it out and we actually decreased by 0.2.
Well, the taxpayers we did.
Okay, Ms. Ayala, would you give us an explanation, please?
Yes, when we went out and made presentation for the bond, the taxpayers were expecting a spike on that first year, which was the current year. And we also told them that the following year it was going to go down because state aid was going to come into play. So yes, it went down from 1.4108 to what we're proposing, 1.3955.
Right. So we lowered taxes.
Yes,
okay,
we
so we
and
lowered
we
the tax
anticipate
rate.
lowering them.
Okay, I wasn't aware, but that's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
So when Mr. Sanchez prepared this document, and the board secretary moved that the tax rate be increased.
Board secretary.
It's really the tax rate be continued at $1.04.
Oh. That explanation was comparing it to the effective tax rate, not to the last year's rate.
Right.
I understand.
Okay.
Everybody understand? Mr. Valdez, does that clarify your concern?
Of course not.
Of course not.
Call for the question?
Call for the question.
Call for any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
And Mr. Valdez still opposing today.
The only thing we need to do, Mr. President, is go back to item number 1, and respectfully, we ask for approval of item number 1 as presented. We have a motion.
Okay. Second motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Nobody opposed? Okay, item 1 passes also.
I move that we adjourn.
Before we adjourn, Mr. President, I just wanted to thank our outstanding finance department under the direction of Ms. Ayala. They've been working on this day and night, and I want to thank them publicly for their work, and we appreciate all of our budget efforts in this district.
All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.
Look at your food.
Thank you.
Damn.
That's why I apologize.
And that can go either way. I understand that we have to choose an architect if we feel like we need to choose it. But if we feel that there's not enough items that need to be addressed at the Civic Center area, then that money can be better spent on other areas for the district.
Well, I would ask before, if the board were going to make a decision on saying we're not going to spend
that much,
any money, like that money. I mean, it depends on the parameters. At first, when you were saying, well, it may not be as much, or we're going to decide what the Civic Center project will be and how much. Well, yes, within a certain parameters, the board can decide that. If the board were going to decide, no, we're not going to do a Civic Center project anymore, I would say we should get a firm opinion on that.
That's where the problem is.
Mr. Garza? Mr. Garza?
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Yeah, and summarizing, pretty much everything we said, at the end of the day, like I said, it's not a penny of this is our money. This is all taxpayer money that we need to adhere to what we said. And I agree with Mr. Martinez. At the end of the day, that's why it's very important for me that we get an architect on board and get going on this, only because every day that we push it back, we've been doing this since November on this project, the prices of materials goes up. And so by doing this, we're actually we're cutting this amount into less and less and less because we're not moving forward to it. And that's the only thing that worries me about this, because by doing so, we're not representing those tax dollars the way we're supposed to. So in my mind, we need to get this thing off the ground. Yeah. And then that's the only way we're going to see. Once the architects come forward with a set of plans that we can say, you know what, overall, we all agree that we really don't need this. And then we can start putting and cutting and doing what we need to do. But we need to get moving on this so that we won't lose the precious dollars that we have on debt or downtime.
Okay. Mr. Garcia?
Yeah, and that's why, and I would bet to say that if we decided not to spend that, not so much that because we can move, we can do some movement, but we got to go back to bond count. We got to go back because we already told the bond what we're going to do. And there is a law for that, because I've looked that up. And to do other projects that we need to do within the district, we set aside $26 million just to handle that stuff. As Mr. Martinez said, you know what, we need to do projects that other schools need. We have some money put aside for that, because that was also part of our plan. So there's already money allocated for that. But we need to have some kind of design. You're right. You know what? They might bring us a palace, and you know what? We don't want a palace. We just want something that looks real nice, and that's what we need to decide on. If we're taking some opinion, we'd be moving the VMT into a church with paint on it, and I think once everybody goes into that facility, is going to take all the credit for it, but you know what, and it's the credit of all these board members, but it's a beautiful structure. But the debate there was, all it needs is a paint job, take off the cross, and we're ready to go again. And I think that, you know what, our kids deserve more, and that's been my fight. Our kids deserve the best facilities we can possibly put, like any other school district has.
Let's move along.
Mr. Valdez, I'm sorry, we still have some discussion. Thank you, Mr. Perez.
No, I guess we go from one point to the other one back and forth, but I'm always very concerned about this, that when you propose something to the public, you don't even know who you're talking to. It's just like here, you know, when we start congratulating people, who are we congratulating? This is a board, you know. And, but coming back to this, the board does have that authority. When people vote, they do not vote on specific projects. You can see the ballot if you want to. Let's get a copy of the ballot. We did this before, okay? My thing is this: there are two things. Well, there are several things that are being discussed here at the same time. Now, Rick, you're correct, you know, but I don't. In that, the concern is that we get moving. I think we've been moving pretty fast. Remember, this district, for about 60 or 70 years, barely built nothing. Look at the buildings. It wasn't until 17 years ago that we started building everything, and we're still going strong. I think we're doing okay, all right? Now, we debate on how much here and how much there, but not on what. It's moving. It's moving. I think we're doing okay as far as that is concerned.
Well, my concern is that after, think about this. If we pick an architect next month, by the time the set of plans and everything gets done and we approve the plans, you're looking at around December. And then by the time we break ground and do whatever we're going to do, you're looking at next March, next April. And so my theory is that if we wait this long, whatever, even if it's a penny, that's not my money. That's taxpayer money that I wasted because we didn't move on it. Yeah. And so that's the attitude that I have, because I need to make sure that the taxpayer dollars get really stretched out as much as we can. And we have to be thinking like that at all times, that it's not our money, it's taxpayer money. And so if we waste a penny, that's taxpayer money that we're wasting because we're not moving on it. And that's my point.
Okay.
Mr. Valdez?
The money does not belong to the taxpayers. If it did, they would take it back, and that would be the first one. Okay? That money is public money now.
That tax increase that they got.
No, it came from somewhere, but it doesn't belong to them. It's our money now.
All right. Thank you.
Public.
Thank you, Mr. Perez, for your reaction. We're going to item number 13.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item number 13 is discussion and possible action to approve a memorandum of understanding with the Boys and Girls Club of Laredo for use of facilities for athletic activities. Mr. President, members of the board, as you know, we've recently had Mr. Hector Noyola join our team of 8. And prior to his arrival, we've had just a exceptional relationship with the Boys and Girls Club, where all of our schools have participated in a host of after-school programs that are coordinated by the Boys and Girls Club of Laredo. All of the arrangement in terms of security, in terms of waiving of fees by the Boys and Girls Club for our kids to participate has been done on a gentleman's agreement and handshake in the past. But once Mr. Noyola became an elected official, council agrees that we needed to solidify the relationship in a way that is transparent, honest, ethical, and everyone can know exactly how we are operating fiscally in our relationship with the Boys and Girls Club. There are a host of activities where the club has games or activities in our schools. They have, as I said, they've waived fees for students. We've provided security, and all of that is clearly stipulated in the Memorandum of Understanding. For the record, for the public, it's not a new relationship. It's just documenting what we have done for many, many decades with the Boys and Girls Club of Laredo. We recommend approval.
So moved to approve.
It has been moved
Second.
and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Garza?
Yeah, and I'm in total agreement. I know firsthand, and I've been a product of the Boys and Girls Club and what they do to Laredo and why it's very important and why we continue this relationship. The only thing I ask staff to do is, because I don't think that's that, well, I don't think because we don't have that information. But I need you to put a dollar amount to this, only because what we want to have complete transparency on is that what we're doing out there for the public, for these kids, in dollars and cents. And I think a lot of people would say, look at everything that LISD is doing along with the Boys Club, and look at the product that they're producing. So,
yes, sir. We can do that.
For accountability reasons, I'd like to see that, only because I'd like to see even more of participation. I know Mr. Nola is, you know, they struggle to have every activity in 2 gyms, so, or 3 gyms that they have. So if there's any way or any possibility of us moving forward with figuring out a way how we can become that partner that provides more services for these kids, I'm all for it. I think it goes right along the line of the things that we're trying to do to have the kids be more active.
Okay. Any further discussion on item 13?
Question.
No. Okay, the question's been called. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Abstain.
Anybody opposed?
No, but for the record, we have one abstention.
One abstention. Okay, item number 14.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'd like to postpone item number 14 at this time.
Okay. All right.
May we proceed?
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, I
Item
need
number
to be
15.
excused at this time.
Okay, we're postponing item number
Going to
14. Do we need
executive
action on that?
Ma'am.
Yes, sir.
That brings
Go
us to executive session. Item number 15 is discussion and possible action regarding legal claims and allegations of Scott Roberts, including discussion with board's legal counsel regarding related legal issues and contemplated litigation. And item number 16 to also be discussed in closed session is discussion and possible action regarding the potential purchase of the real property known as 1901 Convent Avenue, 1901 Salinas Avenue, and 1219 Park Street, Laredo, Texas. Items 15 and 16 are being discussed in closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071, subsection 1 and subsection 2, and Texas Government Code Section 551.072. We recommend closed session, Mr. President.
Okay. We will be moving.
Executive session.
Yeah, we're going into executive session. It is now 7:15. Thank you. We're back to the general meeting. It's now 8:25. No, Dr. Nelson?
Thank you, Mr. President. No action. We appreciate the conversation, and we're ready to move to item number 17.
Communications?
Hold on. Mr. President, I mean, again, just let's not presume, but, well, I guess,
no votes.
Administration, I'm not recommending any action on number 15. And then on number 16, it's the will of the board not to take any action.
To continue as we're doing.
Okay.
I move that we do not take any action on item number 15 and 16.
Okay.
And table number 16.
Okay.
Not table it.
Oh, yes, no action.
You're
Right,
no
right,
action.
Okay.
Okay, and we go to 17.
We could table it.
But do we have to make a motion and
No, it's no action.
All right.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay, communications, Ms. Castillon?
Yes, sir. Good evening once again. The girls' soccer tournament for 5th grade students is this Saturday, April 18th from 1:30 to 5:30 at Shirley Field, Memorial, and Caguas Fields. Parental Involvement is sponsoring Dining with Dad on Monday, April 20th at the Civic Center Ballroom from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. The LISD Elementary Honors Spring Choir Concert is going to be on Tuesday, April 28th at 7 p.m. in the Civic Center Ballroom. And the Board of Trustees will meet for a budget workshop on Thursday, April 30th at 5:30 p.m. here in the Erie Boardroom. And the Dr. Cecilia May Moreno Aquatics Center will be dedicated on Friday, May the 1st at 3:30 p.m. A curriculum and instruction committee meeting of the board is set for Tuesday, May the 5th at 5:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. And the following day, Wednesday, May the 6th, Operations Committee will meet here in the boardroom. On Thursday, May the 7th, the Business and Support Services Committee of the board will meet at 5:30. And finally, Parental Involvement is sponsoring Mariachis with Mom on Saturday, May the 9th at the Civic Center. And that is all we have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Castillon. Also, if I may, Mr.
Anything
President,
else, Dr. Nelson?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure we recognized our Chief Technology Officer, Mr. Mike Manoa, who celebrated a birthday since our last meeting. Also, Ms. Roberta Ramirez, who is away at a funeral this evening, but she also celebrated a birthday. And last but certainly not least, one of the most special members of our team celebrates a birthday this Saturday, and I wanted to be one of the first on behalf of the team of 8 to recognize Mrs. Veronica Castillon for her birthday this Saturday.
Happy birthday, Ms. Castillon.
You too, Mike.
And last but not least, to all the administrator assistants, the secretaries, Wednesday's their day, and they're the ones that hold everything together. I know Josie does.
Yes.
But I know everybody else in the district does too. So I hope you have a great day.
Hey, I'm the secretary too.
I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.